Welcome to Confession Stories, a space dedicated to sharing moving accounts filled with unexpected twists, deep emotions, and hidden truths. These stories stir emotions, provoke reflection, and occasionally reshape our perspective on the world. Today, I want to share my own experience, an issue that continues to trouble me and weigh heavily on my heart whenever I speak of it. I am Camila, a stepmother, approaching my 40th birthday, and this is a tale of how my once hopeful and promising life spiraled into a nightmare I never anticipated. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so I can keep sharing more captivating true stories like this one. Don't forget to watch until the end and like the video, as this story is bound to be truly compelling. Please click the like button to show your support. It all began so innocently, just like any typical day in my life. I had been happily married to Michelson, a man I deeply cherished, who had 2 children from his previous marriage, Daniel, who was 20, and Michael, who was 18. I had always been aware that stepping into the role of a stepmother would come with its challenges, but I believed that over time, everything would fall into place. The relationship between us was somewhat distant, but that was expected. I was the new woman in their lives, and I understood the importance of giving them the space they needed to adjust to the changes in their family. Our relationship was naturally evolving. Michelson and I had been together for some time, but finding the right balance wasn't always easy. That afternoon, Michelson was away on a business trip, leaving me and his 2 sons at home. But I didn't think anything was out of the ordinary. In fact, I felt a rare sense of peace as I stood in the kitchen, preparing dinner. The only sounds were the clinking of utensils as I chopped vegetables and the gentle bubbling of the stew pot on the stove. The house was calm and serene, filling me with an unusual sense of comfort in the solitude. The silence was nearly overwhelming, and I inhaled the warm, hearty aroma of the stew, looking forward to a pleasant meal for everyone when they returned. Suddenly, I heard hurried footsteps from upstairs. Before I could turn around, Daniel burst through the kitchen door, his face pale and his eyes wide with fear. "Mother, please come up here right away. Michael is about to die." His voice carried urgency and distress. The words sent a cold shiver down my spine. I had no idea what was happening. My heart raced as the words echoed in my mind. "What do you mean? What's going on with Michael? Has he had an accident? Is he ill?" A flood of questions filled my mind, and my breath quickened as I had no time to process them. Without hesitation, I dropped everything, my knife, the cutting board, and rushed after Daniel. We quickly ascended the stairs, nearly in a daze, my legs propelling me upward, my pulse pounding in my chest. Daniel moved ahead, his face grim with concern, his steps rapid and firm. Anxiety clouded my thoughts, making it hard to breathe. When we reached Michael's room, I had no idea what to expect. But nothing could have prepared me for the sight that awaited me. As the door swung open, I saw Michael standing in the middle of the room, completely naked. His slim figure, bathed in the soft light coming through the window, didn't show a smile of joy or relief, nor did it reflect pain or fear. Instead, his grin had a disturbing, almost sinister quality. I stood frozen, unable to make sense of what I was seeing. The scene struck my heart cold, caused my breath to falter, and left me paralyzed, unable to comprehend. "Michael, what are you doing?" I stammered, my voice trembling with confusion. I tried to look away, but the image was seared into my memory, impossible to erase. Part of me wanted to scream, to run, to take any action, but my body remained immobile. Before I could collect my thoughts, Michael quickly crossed the room, grabbed my hand, and pulled me inside. His movements were deliberate and forceful. "Michael, stop." I tried to pull away, but it felt as though my body was paralyzed, and his grip was overwhelmingly strong. The door clicked shut behind me, causing me to turn in panic. Daniel blocked the doorway, his expression a mix of confusion and something darker, an unsettling emotion that made me uncomfortable. He seemed torn between an inexplicable matter and a far more troubling one. "Daniel, move from the door. What's happening? Why are you doing this?" I asked, struggling to keep my composure, though my voice quivered with anxiety. I longed to demand answers, but the crushing weight of uncertainty overwhelmed me. Just as I was about to take control of the situation, an unexpected pressure descended on my shoulders from behind. Daniel was close, his breath warm against my ear, and his hands rested lightly on my shoulders, though there was a force in them that I couldn't escape. A shiver ran down my spine as he whispered, "We can't bear to see you with Michelson." His voice was low and raspy, almost like a confession. It felt as if the world had stopped turning, leaving me frozen, unable to comprehend the meaning of his words. "What are you talking about? I don't understand," I stammered, trying to turn to face him, but his hold tightened, keeping me immobilized. His gaze stayed fixed on me, devoid of doubt or regret, radiating an unusual sense of determination. At that moment, Michael moved towards us slowly, as if savoring each moment. The tension in the room thickened as he leaned in, his face mere inches from mine. His cold, calculating eyes seemed to pierce me, as though trying to read my soul. "Mother," Michael murmured, his tone void of emotion, cold and detached. "Please indulge us." The words hit me like a physical blow. I could feel a tightness in my chest and a constriction in my throat. This couldn't be real. It couldn't be happening. I cried out inwardly, yet my body remained frozen. The children I had once cared for, the ones I had tried to protect, were now against me. I struggled to free myself, but my efforts were futile. Michael stood before me with Daniel behind and the walls closing in. I was trapped, no escape in sight. Terror coursed through me, and I felt increasingly immobilized. "Let me go," I tried to shout, but my voice faltered, weak and trembling. It was as though my voice had abandoned me, leaving me powerless. Michael gave a faint, sly smile that sent a chill down my spine. "Mother, don't resist," he said, his voice soft but laced with undeniable authority. "We don't want to harm you. We just need you to understand your importance to us." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. What had happened? How had this come to pass? This was not what I had imagined when I married Michelson. I never thought things would escalate like this. Each second felt like an eternity, and I struggled to hold on to my sanity, but it was slipping away. I tried to fight back, but my body no longer obeyed me. My mind and body seemed disconnected, and every touch, every movement from them seemed to drain something from me. My resistance weakened, fading bit by bit. I felt a strange turmoil within, a chaotic storm that I couldn't control. My body reacted involuntarily, a fear rising within me. I knew the situation was wrong, that it crossed every boundary, but I couldn't stop it. I couldn't escape. With every passing moment, the grip tightened. I felt myself sinking deeper and deeper into this turmoil, losing more and more of who I was. The values I had once held so dearly were slipping from my grasp, and I was no longer the person I had been. I had lost control. I had become a mere piece in their game, a tool for their desires. The days that followed seemed like a blur. Every morning, I woke beside Michelson, his calm face a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. His warmth, his trust, everything I had treasured in our life together now seemed like a cruel joke. I felt trapped in a never-ending loop of guilt and fear, unable to escape. Every time I looked into his eyes, all I saw was love and trust. I knew I had broken it, but I couldn't bring myself to confess the truth about the growing distance between Michelson and me. I could no longer meet his gaze without feeling the weight of my deception. I carried my secret like a boulder in my chest, heavy and suffocating. The smile that had once come naturally now felt like a disguise, hiding the deep shame and fear that had taken root within me. In the evenings, when Michelson was working or out with friends, I found myself alone with Michael and Daniel. The house that had once been a haven now felt like a prison. Every time I saw them, I could feel their eyes on me, watching, waiting for the next opportunity to strike. Their presence was like a shadow looming over me, making every room feel claustrophobic. They had taken control of my life in ways I couldn't even comprehend, and with each passing day, their hold on me grew stronger. At first, I tried to resist. I yelled, I pushed, I fought, but it was like trying to stop a tidal wave with a pebble. The more I resisted, the more determined they became. It was as though my defiance only fueled their desire, making them bolder and more daring. The moments I had once hoped would pass never did. Instead, they became routines, and I, who had once prided myself on my strength, had become weak emotionally, mentally, and physically. My mind screamed at me to stop, to flee, but my body no longer obeyed. The struggle became less about what was happening and more about my inner conflict. I felt like a prisoner in my own body, as if everything I had once believed in had been stripped away, piece by piece. My thoughts had turned against me. Every time I tried to make sense of the situation, the truth seemed more elusive, buried under layers of guilt and shame. Sometimes I gazed into the mirror, longing to find the person I once aspired to be, only to see a stranger staring back, a shattered, lost person who had allowed everything to fade away. My reflection stared back at me with vacant eyes, hollow and distant, as if I had ceased to exist long ago. I no longer recognized myself, and I didn't know whom to turn to. There was no one who could understand the darkness I had fallen into. How could I explain to anyone what was happening? How could I tell Michelson, the man I loved, that his son's flesh and blood had broken me in ways that could never heal? How could I tell him that I had become their victim, their puppet, controlled by their every whim? I couldn't even explain it to myself, let alone to anyone else. The shame was suffocating, and every time I thought about confessing, a voice inside me told me that it would mean the end of everything. Michelson would never forgive me. He would destroy the life we had built, and only the ruins of my mistakes would remain. The weight of that potential outcome paralyzed me, making any action seem impossible. Yet, there were moments when the guilt became unbearable. In solitude, I would weep, my tears soaking the pillow as I pressed it tightly against my chest. I longed to scream and release the anguish and fury building inside me, but I couldn't break the oppressive silence surrounding me. The walls of my own mind constricted further with each passing day, trapping me in my own silence and guilt. I began to question how much longer I could endure this. How many more days could I continue pretending to be normal? How much longer could I feign happiness alongside Michelson while my soul was unraveling? Every night, I lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, waiting for sleep to take me, only to be tortured by nightmares, vivid recollections of the events I had allowed to unfold. Michael and Daniel relentlessly pursued me in my dreams, their eyes fixed on me, their voices echoing in my mind. I found no escape. Despite my best efforts, they remained with me, and there was no way to rid myself of them. I tried to seek solace in work and trivial distractions, hoping to divert my attention from the torment I was enduring. Yet nothing worked. Nothing could erase the truth that my life was a lie, that everything I believed to be true, including my marriage, was built on deception. I had allowed it to happen. I had surrendered to manipulation, and now there was no way out. I tried to reason with myself, telling myself that I had no other choice, that I was powerless. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had let it happen. I had shown weakness, and now I had to face the consequences of my own actions. How could I face Michelson? How could I explain the unthinkable to him? How could I confess that I had deceived him in such a grievous way? I wrestled with the idea of telling him the truth, but an inner voice constantly warned me that it was too late. Revealing my secret would lead to irreversible consequences, no forgiveness, no redemption, only pain and destruction. The thought of losing him, of losing everything, was unbearable, forcing me to keep silent. However, I knew I could not carry this secret forever. Its weight was suffocating. I understood that I had to make a choice and confront the truth, no matter how difficult. But I wasn't sure if I was confronting the reality of my actions or the essence of the transformation I had undergone. What I did know was that remaining silent wasn't a solution. It would ultimately destroy me and everything I cared about. If I didn't speak up and take control of my life again, I would face terrible consequences. If I failed, I would be lost forever. So I seek your guidance. Should I reveal everything to Michelson? Should I confess and face the consequences? Or should I stay silent and try to continue living with this burden, hoping time will bring healing? If you have read this far, please withhold judgment. I only seek peace and comfort. I can no longer bear this burden alone. I hope to find reassurance that I am not the only one who has experienced such profound confusion, despair, and entrapment. From this experience, I have learned that silence only deepens the sorrow. It creates more secrets, more lies, and more suffering. I now see that I should have spoken out sooner. I should have faced the truth from the start, no matter how hard it was. But it's never too late to make things right. I must find the courage to move forward, regardless of the outcome or the consequences. I will find a way to free myself from this darkness. I will restore my life, dignity, and peace. Thank you for reading. Please share your thoughts and feelings. They may help me find a way out of this tale of confessions that ends here. If this story has made you think, if you find this content meaningful, please support us by liking, subscribing, and sharing your opinions. Your contributions empower us to continue creating more stories, facts, and real experiences. Thank you, and farewell. We'll see you in the next video.